I'm Greg.
I'm Alana. There were 3 days in the conference. Let's start with the first day.
It all started about 10 a.m., I think, local time. There were, I think, 3 or 4 stages, maybe. One, the big one, the really big one, I think that they hosted like 3,000 people there. It was less technical, more kind of social, political topic that was discussed on the main stage at least. There was also an expo hall um, where exhibitors showed their offering, mostly targeted for institutional clients, I think. Frankly speaking, I haven't found anything for me in the expo, maybe except the ATM. There was a guy from Czech Republic, and there was an ATM. You could buy bitcoins right from this ATM, or you could, buy ATM and deploy it somewhere in the world later on. But yeah, but it was quite expensive. I mean, you could exchange cash for Bitcoin, but it cost something around. I mean, the commission was something around 5%.
ATMs are usually
So I
more
think it's quite.
expensive, but they're no KYC. So, you're kind of paying for the privacy as well and the convenience. But yes, they are usually more expensive. My first impression was that it was such a beautiful location. I really enjoyed the location. It felt very like a community convention. The Miami convention is much bigger, much larger. And it felt that way, and there were way more people there. And this one felt a lot more cozy. It felt like a true bear market convention, but still nice. It was still cool, and it was nice to have the food trucks outside. And so my first impression was really positive. I've never been to Amsterdam, so I was already kind of super excited about being there and how beautiful everything is. Um, I agree with you that the main stage is probably a good orange pilling stage, because you get to find out about, you're right, political topics, financial topics, kind of more high level topics regarding Bitcoin. Bitcoin 101 was great. I think that was one of the first sessions. First, David Bailey came out. They spoke about what they were doing. And I thought it was just such a good location. I really feel like the Bitcoiners in Amsterdam are really fun. They really are or just in, I would say that probably that whole area of Europe is just kind of like a different kind of Bitcoiner that I'm used to. And it was, but still a Bitcoiner. A Bitcoiner is a Bitcoiner everywhere. But slightly different, slightly different. But yeah, my first impression was awesome. And then I do like how they had the different stages for people that were interested in other topics. I agree with you that it didn't get super duper technical, at least not the ones that I went to. And I did go to, but I obviously gravitated towards the subjects that I'm most interested right now. And yeah, I would say the first day for me was a really banging first day as well. I didn't eat on site the first day because the lines were really long. And there were just not that many places to sit down to eat. And so I just felt like, well, I'll skip lunch. And then I just had dinner out of the venue.
Yeah, I fully agree. Both about the main stage, orange pilling, and regulatory topics as well. I mean, um,
Right.
true. Food trucks, yeah, long queue indeed, and not kind of little space to sit down and eat just at the table or something. So yeah, that was surely kind of an issue. However, the good thing about it was that you could pay with Lightning everywhere,
Yes.
like
Yes.
be it a food truck or the restaurant there or wherever, even the coffee, beer at the
And all the
same.
food was
Yeah, that
delicious. I
was.
did have it the second day, and it was really good. I had the duck burger, and it was so good. So, yeah, the food was really good, and yeah, you could pay with Lightning. Did you pay with Lightning?
I don't like spending, sats.
Ah! I did. I did. I feel like when you start getting paid in Bitcoin, then you feel much better paying in Bitcoin, like using your Bitcoin because you're not just buying it as an investment, you're actually getting paid in that. So you already exchanged value for that. Just like if it were fiat. And so I would say my relationship with spending Bitcoin has changed. I know that someday I'll be like, how much did I spend for that burger? But today it still is what it is. That's how much I got paid. In fact, I probably got paid when it was 18K. So by the time, I don't know, I think it was like around 19 or probably not even 20 when we were dollars anyway, when we were there. But yes, I did pay in Lightning, but I did notice that not a lot of people were. They were excited that you could accept Lightning, but then they weren't actually like, paying in Lightning.
True. Even though we received kind of NFC card at the entrance,
Yes.
right?
I
And
lost mine.
I think there were some sats. You lost one, but I think there were some sats on it, right?
Yeah, I think it was like $10 worth of
Okay.
sats. Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So everyone could just use it and exchange for beers. Amsterdam is also kind of a great location because it's well connected. They have a big airport. It's easy to get there.
Yes.
Do you recall any particular uh, discussion in the first day of the conference, like the one that you liked the most?
You know, every time I go to one of these conferences, especially the Bitcoin Magazine conferences, I'll be in a session. I'm like, wow, that's the best session I've ever been in. And then I'll go to another one, and then I'm like, wow, that's the best session I've ever been in. I feel like I think I don't recall. I think they have Satoshi Radio, but I'm not sure if those were the same guys. And they did Bitcoin 101. And it was so nice. First of all, it's the only one I remember the name of, but it is a pretty easy name. Um, but I really enjoyed how they described it so simply. And sometimes when you've been in Bitcoin for a long time, you know so much about it that it's hard. When you talk to a new person again, you have to kind of reframe the way that you speak about it so that you can truly talk to a new person about it. And I felt like I needed a refresher on how to boil Bitcoin down to its simplest elements. And I feel like that session was really good for that. I don't recall the name of the other ones, but I obviously went to the one on energy FUD, the FUD on proof of work. I'm producing a documentary about it, so I know a ton about proof of work, um, and the FUD and the regulatory issues and everything that's going on there, and just the misinformation that's being spread. So it was, homework for me to be at those sessions and listen to what people were saying. And then just any of the financial talks. I mean, it was hard for me to get myself away from the main stage just because for me, those political topics and those high level topics are the ones that I use the most when speaking of Bitcoin. I'm in media. So for me, those are the subjects that, the non-developer crowd, the new people are going to be using that we're onboarding onto Bitcoin. I believe that those are the topics that they're going to come in through. Plus, I'm not a developer. So, but I did go to the Geyser one, but I believe that that one was the second day. So, in terms of the first day, those were really good. I actually have them written down, but I don't want to take out my phone because I have too many notifications and I'm gonna get distracted. But yeah, for me, for the first day was also just the way the light show and everything that they had between sessions on the first day and the again, I'm a media person, so the multimedia that they had, the animations playing and the lights and the sound, it was just such a great venue for a convention. It felt very fun. But then the other two stages felt, I don't know how you call the one that had like the green X's. That one was really cool too. And it had like the second floor, and everybody was just kind of piled around, and it felt like you were in this like secret session. And that felt really cool as well. And there were just I just feel like they were, again, I'm not a developer, so I'm curious what you have to say about the content. From my perspective, I felt like it was very well rounded. But again, I'm not a developer. Do you feel as a developer that maybe you would have preferred more technical seminars or speakers?
Yeah, for sure. That's what I kind of missed on this in this event. Um, Even though there were developers, I mean, I recognized a few names, and the few faces. But I think they didn't lecture, didn't talk much. There were developers from Ledger, but I think they promoted one of the tools they I think released. But other than that, I think I missed much, the technical talk. I think that the most, at least for me, valuable part of this conference is just to meet the people, the real people like me, like you, the hodlers, developers, all those, different kind of people in real life. And actually, I think I spent maybe 20, maybe 30% of my time on the, listening to the conversations on stages, and most of the time I spent actually outside, and it was even very difficult for me to. I even didn't want to stop all the conversations that were, let's say on the backstage or elsewhere with kind of, other Bitcoiners. I met amazing people there. Uh, and this is kind of a special group of people, like the Bitcoiners. Those people are really humble, and that's what I like. I think the most about them. That when you enter there, and they are coming from so different backgrounds, and but they all, I think, have the same characteristic, like having, being just humble. It was amazing. Maybe because of the bear market, right? Maybe just all the other are not there. One particular fact from the conference, I think on the second day there was all-time high of hash rate in Bitcoin, which is
Mm.
kind of a bullish. But on the other hand, there was, in terms of the price, it was a 2 years low or something. It was something around, 80, $18,000, right, at the time. So it's for sure it's a bear market,
Definitely.
um, definitely. But the conversations like behind the scenes and everywhere else were not oriented on or concentrated around the price at all. I mean,
No.
we talked about all different things. The price was just irrelevant for some reason, which is what I like actually, and that's amazing. And yeah, there were a lot of people who actually do something in Bitcoin. So you don't see them, right? And I think all the audience, they really like to hide. Like I think I feel like if they are really not going to reveal anything about themselves. Don't make photos. Some of them have, run some businesses like, ATMs, but, all sorts of businesses around Bitcoin, lending, and so on. And they also, you wouldn't even guess that they do something like that. I mean, that you will not see a big advertisement, right? Or, a guy promoting much, like arriving in his Lamborghini and making a lot of noise. Nothing like that. Just a regular people. I think by the way, the only guy in a suit or actually tuxedo was Dr. Orlovsky. I think this is kind of this is a developer of RGB. Um, uh, Smart guy for sure, and like maybe there was another one, but they were just exceptions in that conference, right? All the other people just looked like every other person, and uh, yeah, and they are just humble. No promotion, no shitcoin shilling, nothing like that. So. Nothing like you wouldn't see like people with Rolex or other like luxury stuff, right?
God, I hope
So
that that's
um,
gone, but the reality is that's probably not. But I hope that that's just a thing of the past. But again, I don't think that that's a thing of the past. I mean, Miami definitely people had their wrapped Lamborghinis, in front of the place. I think it also depends on the location and obviously the time of the market and who is in it. I would say that when I've been to conferences in 2020 and 2021. I'd say more 2021, but 2020, there weren't really that many conferences in 2020 or any that I went to actually. Then I guess it was 2019. Wow. Um, there were a lot of educators, and so when you have a lot of educators educate, and again, I don't mean to insult any educators out there because there's some really legitimate, awesome educators, but there's also a lot of non-legitimate educators out there, especially when it comes to crypto. And so they feel like they need to look like they make more money than they actually do in order for people to trust them, in order for people to be like, wow, well, that guy has a Rolex. So that means that he obviously does great in crypto. So I'm going to hear everything he has to say, or she, but it's mostly he's. Um, it's usually mostly he's. That is something I did notice about the conference. It was very much like 90 something percent male. So not as many females, which is regular for a tech conference. I've been in tech for a long time, and that's just kind of normal for tech. But I would say that conferences in California, you see more of a 60-40. Like it's still more men than women, but there's still a lot more female representation. That's something that I would say that I just don't see as many women. That being said, there were phenomenal female speakers, and at the conference, there were also, there were all kinds of speakers. There were a representation of all kinds of women, just like there were a representation of all kinds of men. But but yeah, I feel like this at least in Amsterdam, I just didn't see a lot of like educators or people that are just kind of like just trying to scam people. And again, I'm not saying that educators are scammers at all, at all. I know some phenomenal educators, but I think that those educators know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm saying, that there are some scammy educators out there. And I feel like it's builders, Bitcoin is not high right now at all. It's really low considering, right? It's not whatever it is, what it is. Um, but it's definitely not a bull market. And everybody that's there was building. I'm producing a documentary. There were developers there. There were, marketing people there. There were people that their life is Bitcoin always. That is our job during the day. That's what we talk about in the early morning shoots with people in Europe. That's what we do in the evenings. That's we just kind of live and breathe Bitcoin. And I feel like that is way more the type of people I want to be around because we are not necessarily having to show off why we're there, like we actually want to know. We're more interested to know about other people and what they're doing and than having to talk about necessarily ourselves. And that's something that, going back to what you were saying, of that public being a little bit more humble, I feel like that's part of it. It's just, you know, we know what we're doing, we know what we're up to, we know what our funding looks like. It's just not really about. It's about establishing relationships because it is through these hard times, and it is for especially for miners right now. It's a very tough time for some miners, and it's a very tough time for a lot of people that are raising funds. And if they're still in the game, they really want to be in it. They really do understand Bitcoin, and they understand the value and the impact that it has for the world. And I say sign me up to a convention like that any day over a convention of just like really excited people. And there's a place for that, and that's great. I hope excited people continue to get together, and that's how I started too. But after you've been in it for a few years, or more than a few years, you really are in it for what it can do. And that's why I would say those maybe the political talks where I was interested in the kind of that higher level. What's Bitcoin doing? What are we really here for? It helps solidify why we're still here, why this still very much matters, and why it is that we can't just give up because number went down.
There were like prominent figures like Adam Beck, for example, this humble guy just walking by, and you could just make a photo. You can really meet those people that you would probably not meet anywhere else. Those are real people. They are as humble as you are. Uh, Great value. I mean, that's inspiring, motivating, and so on, and much more than meeting them just on the stage. I think for many people, at least for me and for people that I talk to.
Yeah, I would have loved to have more time to mingle, and maybe that's what Friday was really for, and I just was not there because I was recording. Um, but I it's such a battle for me because I wanna be in the sessions, but then I wanna talk to people, but then I know that I can see the sessions later on YouTube, and I can't, like, repeat that serendipitous moment of talking to people, but I also know that I'm probably not really gonna go back and look at all the sessions, and having the energy in the room also, like, watching a session in person versus on YouTube. I don't know why. It's different, In person, it just feels a lot more like I'm more engaged. I'm there. There's the energy in the crowd. But when it's on YouTube, I just kind of put it up while I'm working. Still awesome, and I'm still super grateful that we even have that, and I can go back and rewatch some sessions. I can send it to people, um, but it's just not the same. But yeah, so for me, I'm like, okay, I really want to be in the sessions, but then I want to talk to people. I will say that I guess as my female comment, gotta always have that female card, but my female comment is that um, again, coming from California, I live in Puerto Rico now, but I was in California for 13 years, so that's like kind of my tech background and my background. Um, Men are a little bit more used to talking to women in this space because there's just more of us, and I would say that in the convention in Amsterdam, I would approach a group of men and they would be like, like, "What are you doing here?" A little bit, and it did happen a couple of times, not all the time. I'm not complaining about all the guys, but I did notice that there was kind of more of a woman, what does she want? Like, what's happening here? And so, that was something I did notice, like, just not as, "Yeah, here, sit down, have a beer," like that kind of, attitude. I don't know if it's a European thing or if it's a developer thing, or I guess there weren't that many developers there, although there were developers there. But I did notice that there was that difference. Even in Miami, it was a little bit easier for me to network than how it was in Amsterdam. Not that it was awful or anything. I'm not complaining, but ultimately it just makes me bubble up to the more friendly folks, because they're the more open ones. So it allows me to be a little bit more choosy, I guess, but that is one thing, and then everybody's so tall that when at the bar, I was just trying to get a drink because, again, it's like Europe, and I'm, like, tiny, and I'm, like, this little Latina just trying to, like, go through all the men don't even see me, they're, like, looking over my head. So I would say that that is something that I wish we could, I think it will change. It changed in the United States, it changed in California, it's changing in the East Coast of the United States, it's changing in Puerto Rico. And I am looking forward to being a part of that change and seeing more women so that men aren't as surprised when they see a woman. And that's not a blogger. That's not that was many people's initial question. And then it's funny because I'm in media and I do make videos, but I'm not a blogger. I don't have a YouTube show that I shill or anything. So I don't have a book. So it's a bit of a different female crowd that goes, at least for now. I will say that in the Texas conferences, some of my favorite Bitcoiners are female developers and they're female Bitcoiners. And they're some of the most brilliant people that I know. And I really enjoy that. And, they're dressed in t-shirt and jeans and sneakers. And it's just a little bit of a more of a female broy culture, I guess. And I guess not too broy, they're developers, but yeah, just more approachable. And I would say that that was one thing in terms of the networking for me that was it was just a little bit harder in this conference than in other conferences.
That's an interesting point. By the way, that might be kind of a cultural thing on the north. It's what typically different from the south part of
Mm.
Europe. Like people are easier to approach on the southern part of Europe, I think. Um,
Yeah, maybe it's not a
yeah.
woman thing. Maybe
So,
it's
so
just like a Northern European thing.
have you been on the on the meetup, especially on the first day on the in the Blast Galaxy, I think, to play arcade video games?
No. No, I didn't find out about
No.
that.
Oh,
No, I think because I went out to dinner.
oh, really?
No. I was a little out of the loop in some things because we had there were a lot of different people from one of the reasons why I go to conferences to shoot, to record my doc is that you have all of these different Bitcoiners coming to one location. And so if I had to travel to each of them, like I for example, I interviewed 6 people while I was in Amsterdam. All 6 live in completely different places in the world. So I would have had to travel to 6 different places versus just traveling to one location. I did the same thing in Miami. I traveled just to Miami and I was able to get different people from all over the world. So we just had kind of like our own chat and then we were just I also even though I like to network with new people, I see this as an opportunity to kind of strengthen relationships with people that I've already met. And so I was a little bit out of the loop. But no, tell me about the arcade. That sounds really fun.
Oh, that was amazing. Like they had a lot of them, a lot of them,
Where
and
was it?
you could play.
Like at the convention?
I don't
Like
know.
at the
Two,
in the
no, 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 no. In a different place, and it was something like 2 kilometers away. Um, so or 3 beers away
three
from
beers away?
the. I don't know if it's legal to drink alcohol on the street in Amsterdam, but I think I saw some people doing that. But anyway, so yeah, amazing, amazing. I mean, amazing place. You have a lot of those arcade games, and like even Mortal Kombat and all
Oh,
the
that's
other
cool.
sort of games. Yeah, I felt like I was 5 years old again and played those things.
One thing that I do is that I actually did before the Amsterdam conference is um, I just bought a certain amount of money worth of Bitcoin. And then that was the budget that I gave myself to use. So I would have used that fiat anyway. So I just bought that Bitcoin knowing that I was going to use it. I ended up using a little bit more than that just because I thought I was just going to use like 40 bucks worth, worth of Bitcoin. So I ended up using a little bit more. But if you have that feeling of like, oh, I've already invested in this and I don't want to use it, then if you're going to use the fiat anyway, just put that fiat and turn it into Bitcoin and then use that. And then that way in your mind, that's just all that you used. Or whatever you use Bitcoin, just immediately buy that amount back. And then, it's kind of like a net gain.
Yeah, the issue with that is that it's not that easy to acquire Bitcoin typically. Like I even made an experiment during that conference, right? And I advertised, on the Telegram group, like I don't know, 200, 300 people on the group. I don't know exactly, but only for the people who are on the conference. I said, okay, I want to buy Bitcoin, right? Who's gonna sell me, right? Or where can I buy it, right? On that conference, and actually, the only way to do it was in that ATM in the expo uh, area, and yeah, so and I could only buy it using cash. Of course, I didn't have cash. I mean, maybe it's not, of course, but actually, I didn't have it. So if somebody is just completely new and doesn't have any Bitcoin, then it might be a problem to get it, fast, right, and easy. Uh, there is the speech app. I haven't used it on the conference. Um, I used it in the previous conference a month before. Uh, there were almost no ads, no people to sell Bitcoin. So all in all, I think it's not that easy. Even if you want to, spend Bitcoin, and it's not easy to kind of procure them or acquire.
I
Um,
recommend you come to Puerto
yeah,
Rico. very easy. And, there's a lot of people that are, yes, I guess I won't say more, but I did meet some people that I guess we all have different realities in terms of how to acquire Bitcoin. And you're totally right. I'm not sensitive to all the different countries. Coming from the United States, it's pretty easy. Obviously, you have all your exchanges that you can buy Bitcoin with. You have Cash App, you have I think even PayPal now. I don't use it for that, but I think even on PayPal there's so many different ways that you can acquire Bitcoin now, and it's probably a little bit harder to acquire no KYC Bitcoin than just your regular exchange Bitcoin. But even that, if you're tapped into the right networks, there are a lot of people that will exchange cash for Bitcoin. And yeah, so that's one way that I've been able to acquire Bitcoin pretty easily. But you're right. I mean, different places of the world, sometimes banks won't play ball. They won't let you connect your bank account to an exchange. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, and just let's assume that you are just a completely newbie and just arrives at the Bitcoin conference for any reason, and you think, oh, I want to acquire more Bitcoin. I want to pay for everything using Lightning, right, and so on. It's not that easy to do it immediately. Like, for example, if you want to open an account at Binance or somewhere else, and you must go through the KYC, it will probably not be completed within 15 minutes or something. It will probably take days for them to process all your documents if you have them at hand, because maybe you just need a proof of residence that you pay bills in that place, and of course you don't have the bill with you. You will not just make a photo of it and
Yeah.
send it. Maybe I just read a tweet about it, right? That conference is kind of a good place to acquire Bitcoin, something like that. That's why I made an experiment, and I can tell, no, it's not that easy. I want to jump to another topic. Have you found any particular announcement in the Bitcoin conference this year in Amsterdam?
Um, no. But that's fine. Like
Me too.
no, but it wasn't like I was a kind of expecting one necessarily. But yeah, I guess no. I guess there wasn't much of an announcement other than we're still here. We're still building. There's people in the world that are still very much here. Yeah.
So I would summarize that, at least from my perspective, I really missed some announcements. I haven't actually noticed any remarkable announcement, if any at all.
I'll give a plug to Geyser. So I would say that that was a big announcement. They didn't make it seem like a big announcement. It was in one of the smaller stages, but they did get to talk about the Geyser grants. Like I won a Geyser grant for my film. And that was really cool. They sent me a little letter from Satoshi Nakamoto saying like we really love the work that you're doing and we want to keep it going. So I would say that that's not it wasn't a flashy announcement, but I would say it's still a big announcement as a creator to be able to have that access to that kind of like easy tool. So I guess that was a little bit of an announcement.
Thank you for the example. Apparently, I missed a few things on that
Well, there were
conference, and
three stages
it's
going on at the same time, and so you can't be in all places at the same time.
exactly.
Go to the conferences. I think that especially if you want to just learn more, don't believe everything everybody says, even if they've been in the space for a long time, because sometimes they can lose touch. And I did notice a few institutional people that have been in this space for a long time say things that were actually wrong, that were incorrect. And and that's fine. I'm sure I say things that are incorrect sometimes too. It happens. So don't believe that everybody that just because somebody has been in this space for longer than you, they know more than you. Maybe they do. They definitely have more experience with Bitcoin than you, but not necessarily all of that experience could just be being on Twitter and not actually developing and not actually building on it and not actually, building in this space. So I would say, just be cautious, do your own research, make sure that what people say is true. If you're going to act on certain things. And one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. That's all I would add.
I think it was quite good to be there. I think that the most valuable thing for me was the audience, actually meeting other Bitcoiners. I think it's not that easy to meet so many Bitcoiners from different backgrounds at the same time at the same place. We haven't met in person, by the way,
We didn't get to
and
no,
so
we didn't get to see each other.
yes, you see people. We were just at the same time at the same place, and even though we didn't meet there, we followed up later on, and so conferences work even outside
That's
the
true.
site.
That
Let's
is
say.
true. That's true.
Thank you for this
Thank
review.
you.